Good morning, everyone. Can you please take your seats? This is really cool today. I was thinking about what is a universal problem for all of you guys. It's like, what is your problem? I know you don't think this right now, but your problem is that you're young. And hear me out on this. The thing about being young is it's amazing. You're ready to take on the world, but it's hard because you've had limited amount of time to experience everything. So the point of something like this and the point of masterclasses is for you guys to learn, to ask questions, to take something out of it, and then when you're finished from studying here, you're ready to go and you're ready to take on the world. And today we have two people who are really, really amazing people. The first person is actually going to be our MC, and she graduated from ICMS. She does have a pretty strange accent. I apologize. She's from South Africa. But she's a product of ICMS. She works for us. We're very, very proud of her. So please welcome Samantha Hardiman today.
Hello. Thank you.
Good? Yep.
Yeah, all good. Thank you.
And secondly, the star of the show, you may have seen her on TikTok. I must admit, she was one of the first people I followed on TikTok. So Sophia is someone who is not only very inspirational, but she's got some great advice because she's gone through what you guys are going through, and she studied something similar in the fashion course. So Sophia and Sam have now met, and they're going to have a conversation about all the things that Sophia has done, and most importantly, Sophia coming from LA to live in Sydney. So everyone please welcome Sophia Kim.
Hey. Hi, guys. So I have seen some of your faces before, and I feel very honored and privileged to be here today. First of all, by show of hands, how many of you are on TikTok? Watch TikTok? Yeah, okay. So including Glenn, yep. Well, Glenn is keeping, watching what's happening in the market. So Sophia is someone that I actually watched on TikTok before coming to Australia. So I sort of see her like a big sister and an inspiration. But the point of us being here today is to have the kind of conversation where you can understand Sophia is so relatable, and just like Sophia, you too can start up your own business, right? So first of all, Soph, hi.
Hi.
Where have you come from today besides Rose Bay? You're originally from?
I was born in Seattle, but I lived in Los Angeles for 5 years before moving to Sydney.
Okay, and what was life like growing up in LA or well, before then in Sacramento? What was little Soph like?
Okay. I was always into fashion, and whenever I'd get out of the shower, I'd try to kind of repurpose the towel to see what new designs I could do with the towel. And I was always in love with the ocean.
Yeah.
And I love the beaches, but Seattle is very cold. And then when I moved to Sacramento, I was kind of sad because it's very inland. It's the capital of California, but there are no beaches around.
Okay.
Yeah.
And we initially found out that one of the many businesses you have is Siempre Swim, right? Which we see on the mannequins here today.
Yeah.
So can you tell me the backstory of becoming an entrepreneur, actually graduating college a year before all your friends, being that lonely entrepreneur? What was the journey like to Siempre?
Okay. So after my high school, after I graduated, we went to Hawaii for the senior trip.
Yeah.
And I saw these women selling swimsuits. And they were selling swimwear that was very cheeky. And I had not seen anything like that before because I was purchasing swimsuits from Target and Victoria's Secret. So it was always full coverage.
Yeah.
And so then that was the first time I saw cheeky swimsuits, and I was like, okay, I want to buy one. Mm-hmm. But it was $200 per piece, which was interesting because it's less fabric. So I was thinking, why is it more expensive when it's less?
Fair enough.
And so then that was kind of the first time I had that seed planted in my head, like, okay, there's a gap in the market here, and I love swimsuits.
Yeah.
Then I went to UC San Diego. I wanted to be near the beach and near the ocean. And so I just was living in swimsuits as I was attending university.
Okay. And like you mentioned, possibly your business has been born out of things that you just sort of lived around. You loved the beach, loved swimwear, identified that, okay, there's a gap in the market. When you first started Siempre, now we can see, if you guys look on the screens there's actually the initial logo, which I believe you got off Fiverr for how much?
$5.
$5, nice. So it didn't take a lot for you to start up your business, right?
Yeah.
What were some of those initial steps of starting up a swimwear brand?
Yes. So I attended university with a communications major. I took a lot of marketing classes. I decided I wanted to start the swimwear label, and so I graduated 1 year early. And my mom and I made a deal that if I did well my last year that I would have graduated by, my friends were still in college. I said, if I make Siempre Golden successful, then I can continue doing it. Otherwise, I agreed with my mom that I would go to law school. And so I applied for the trademark in the November before I graduated, got it approved, and I wanted the infinity sign to kind of represent, like, okay, Siempre means always in Spanish, so it means to always live a golden life. I thought the infinity sign kind of represented forever.
Nice.
Yeah.
I like that brand story.
Thank you.
And the initial, because I think you are now, one of your titles is a TikTok influencer, right? And I know I watch influencers all the time and think, oh, they just slid into that lifestyle. That's so easy. They get whatever they want handed to them. Your story is by no means you've been handed anything. You were working 3 jobs. Can you tell us a little bit more about that, contextualize that for us?
Yes, okay. So after I graduated from university, Sacramento is Northern California. It's a 6-hour drive from Los Angeles, 8-hour drive from San Diego. It's in the middle of nowhere. There's no ocean. And so after I graduated from college, I was like, okay, there's no way I can go back home. Swimwear is not going to work up there. And so then my brother at the time was living in Orange County. So he said I could live with him. And I was living in his living room. We put a mattress on the floor. It was a tiny 1-bedroom apartment in Orange County. And so after maybe less than a year, he had to move back to Boston. And so then this is when I was like, okay, there's no income coming in. I want to start a brand. How can I stay living down here? And so I worked out a deal with my friend who had a grandma who had dementia. So I had to be a facilitator.
A
Caretaker.
Like
I was living in the apartment above her, and I would have to help her in the evenings. I'd have to take her to the restroom and help her because she didn't have control of her muscles. So that's what I was doing in the evenings. I was also working at a surf shop where I was working retail. And then that's how I got my swimsuits into those surf shops because I got close to the buyers there. And then I was also a babysitter on the weekends for a 2-year-old who was very cute. But before all of that, so I didn't know how to design clothes. I just knew that I loved swimsuits, but I didn't know how to actually get started on the process. And in order to have clothes made, you need patterns. And after patterns, you need samples made. And so I went to Los Angeles. That was my main goal after graduating from college, was to find a pattern maker. And I knew that I wanted to design a swimsuit that had a friendship bracelet. And
so what year was this? So sort of.
This was in 2013.
Okay, so this was what kind of brands were
around
really, really big? Because I know that's when I was in my tweens and I was trying to get anything American apparel in South Africa, which you couldn't. Globalization hadn't hit there yet. So what kind of trends were happening that inspired you to make that friendship bracelet?
That's a great question. So at the time it was Miko and Acacia.
Okay.
And
does anybody know that brand? No? So what sort of vibe did the brand give?
So it was lots of strings, a lot of cut strings. And so then that's when I thought, why don't we do something with the strings? Why don't we braid the strings? And so then that's why I came up with this idea where it's a chevron, Have you guys made friendship bracelets back in the day? Yeah. So then that's where the idea came from. And so then I looked for pattern makers and sample makers in Los Angeles. And the problem with Los Angeles is everything's very spread out. You have to find someone to get the fabric. Then you have to find someone to cut the fabric into strings. Then you have to find someone else to braid the fabric.
Okay.
And so everyone kept turning me away because they said it was just too much labor and too much time.
Yeah.
And so I was like, okay, I need to outsource and I have to go to Bali.
Okay, all right. So was there somebody who mentioned to you in conversation, oh, try out Bali, it's far cheaper, or did you perhaps go look on a clothing label? What led you to Bali?
I saw that, I knew that all the other swimmer labels that were very nice and I aspired to be like, they all made their swimsuits from Bali, so I just knew that there would be a good market to find manufacturers there.
Okay, so sometimes it's actually like, you know how in classes everyone's like, you should do a competitor analysis. That's proof right there that it actually does help. And you've got all those different designs there. Where did you find your pattern maker and how did you whittle down all of your, I'm sure you had hundreds of ideas, but how did you whittle down to those designs?
I thought that the friendship bracelet aspect was very unique because there was nothing like that at the time. And I didn't want to come out with too many designs. I thought to come out with 3 would be perfect, which that are kind of different styles, something for every girl. And so, this was my main focus, the Tres Amigos.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you were, again, like bootstrapping from the very beginning.
Yeah.
You actually got your friends to model for you.
Yes.
So what kind of roles as an entrepreneur were you fulfilling day to day? What were you, between photographer, marketer, what were you doing?
So in the beginning, what happened was I went to Bali, found a manufacturer that I really liked, and I ordered a little bit. I ordered a few samples, right? Then I came back to Orange County. And then I was like, okay, I want to prove that this works. I want to prove that people actually like these designs and would want to wear these swimsuits. So I created a Kickstarter campaign. So that's a crowdfunding site.
Yeah.
I had 61 backers and I raised around $5,500. So it did surpass my goal.
Okay.
And to do that, this was for the Kickstarter campaign. I used friends. So these are all sorority friends. And I just got them saying, I just asked, hey, can we do a photo shoot of you girls wearing the swimsuits? And then I used these photos for the Kickstarter campaign. So it's really important to be resourceful. You don't have to, yes, you do need some sort of funding, but you don't want to spend pennies on things that you can do yourself. And so, I found friends to model. I found friends to photograph and actually create the video for the Kickstarter. I created the website. So I just made sure to be very resourceful.
Besides having the friends at the photo shoots, how would you say that college perhaps, getting a higher education helped you in your entrepreneurial journey? Was it the classes? Was it the connections? What was it for you?
I think college really helped me gain my confidence and learn how to interact with other people.
Yeah.
And it really helped me step forward and be able to take leaps of faith.
Okay.
I think without that first leap of faith, I don't think I would have been able to do anything. I wouldn't have even been able to move countries to here.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So you stated that you started off on Kickstarter, right? That was where you officially launched, but where did you take the business then from there?
Yes, so I did mention that I got into Hobie Surf Shop. So you can see the sky blue bags. Those are actually Hobie Surf Shop bags. And so after I made sure that it was proven successful through Kickstarter, I put in a bigger order. So you see those bikinis, that's an order that came in from Bali. I cut up the boxes, just dump everything out and count every single one to make sure all the sizing is correct, the packaging is correct. And then I separate them into separate bags and boxes by sizes and styles. And so from there, I thought, okay, now I need to get into stores. I need to find wholesale accounts. And so Hobie Surf Shop was one of the first accounts that I got. They have 5 retail locations. I got into 3 of them. Nice. And then after that, I got into another boutique in Laguna Beach. And I did this by just showing up.
Okay.
And so for Revolve Clothing, that was a very big deal because I Googled the headquarters, figured out what the address was, just decided one afternoon, okay, this is going to be the day that I go to Revolve Clothing. I come up with my little suitcase with the bikinis, and I rang the doorbell, and the sign says, "Do not come if you do not have an appointment with a buyer." And
But you just did it
I just
anyway.
rang it anyway, and
Yeah.
someone came out, and I said, "Okay, I'd like to see the swimwear buyer."
Okay.
They said, "Do you have an appointment?" I said, "No." And then the buyer did come out, and
Yeah.
she was kind enough to give me a few minutes of her time, and I showed her the line. She said, "Okay, thank you so much. I'll get back to you on if we want to order with you."
Yeah.
And then 1 week later, they put in an order.
So that doesn't happen all the time though, right?
No.
Okay, so rejection is perhaps one of the things that, I mean, not even being an entrepreneur, but just in life you get rejected. Can you maybe mention what that rejection looked like? Because I think the most important thing for people here today to learn is you've just got to keep at it. You said that if you're passionate about it, like, and you love the business idea, you need to be passionate about it and want to do it for at least the next 10 years. So how did you handle those bits of rejection? Because you were how old when you started the brand?
21.
Yeah, 21. So a lot of people here today are around that age. How did you deal with that rejection?
Okay, so Nasty Gal was one of them. I after Revolve, do you girls, or does everyone know Nasty Gal? Yeah,
Okay.
so I Googled Nasty Gal,
Yeah.
went there, downtown Los Angeles. That didn't really end well. It was kind of like I
Okay.
was invisible. I was maybe waiting around for 30, 40 minutes.
Yeah.
And it was humiliating. It was humbling. Because, you know, you can't just expect just because it happened at Revolve and it was successful at Revolve that you're going to get that success again elsewhere. And so then you just can't let that rejection get you down.
Yeah.
Like it did make me feel really sad that day, but you can't let that prevent you from moving forward.
So would you say that was the most challenging aspect, or were other things like sourcing a manufacturer, or what was starting your own business?
I think the biggest challenge for me was loneliness because at the time, you know, my friends were still in college. I was living in Orange County. My main interactions was either with a grandma or a baby. It was nothing in between. There were no friends around. It was a very small beach town in Orange County. And no one really understood what I was doing and why I was doing it. And I didn't really have many friends that were on the same life path as me of trying to become an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
And so I was very lonely. When I went to Bali, that was my first time going to a country alone where I didn't speak the language. And I was crying probably 75% of the time.
Yeah.
Yeah, from loneliness.
Okay.
Yeah.
But things did get better.
Yes.
Right? So you grew into Revolve, and then something else that you did was
Yes.
a marketing tactic you used. So this was probably 2016, 2017, when Instagram was
Yep.
at its prime. You started gifting celebrities your bikinis.
Yes.
And we can see there they've been featured on Gigi Hadid, Shay Mitchell, Chantal Jeffries, but who was the first celeb that you gifted?
Oh, yes. So this is when I was in Orange County. I had just come back and the Kickstarter campaign did well. I loved Brittany Ferlin. She was one of the biggest Vine stars. And so she's now Tommy Lee's wife. I just messaged her. I said, hey, I'd love to gift you swimwear. And I gifted it to her. She was kind enough to post it on Instagram. That brought in hundreds of followers. And I thought, okay, and then I knew that this tactic worked.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But she wasn't the only person. So there's Gigi Hadid.
Yeah.
In which top is that?
That is the Palisades top.
Okay, so how many, just thinking of that now, so you had the Tres Amigos, how many ranges have you had in the last couple of years?
I've had 4 collections.
Okay, 4 collections.
Yeah, and actually, funny story. So Gigi Hadid was wearing these Tres Amigos bottoms, but in navy blue. I have no idea how she got that. For the first time she was in the brand, I thought,
Yeah.
I don't know how she had that on. But that's what happens when you just gift people within the circle
Okay.
of their friends.
Okay.
It'll just trickle down to the
So
right person.
You may not necessarily get the postal address of the celebrity,
Yeah.
but give it to the people around them.
Yeah.
Is that what you're saying?
Yes, exactly. But this
Okay.
time when Gigi wore the Palisades top to Coachella, this was by then, you know, her stylist had emailed me saying, hey, Gigi and Bella are going to Coachella.
Okay.
Can you send us some swimsuits?
So that's another avenue if you're sort of in fashion and merchandising
Yes.
or whichever entrepreneurial route you take, it's to get a hold of the people that are sort of handing them the
Yep,
clothes.
exactly.
And
So
all of that.
stylists as well.
Okay.
Yep.
And then you were approaching a lot of celebrities, right? But you're now in Sydney. So where did the transition lie between here in LA, where you're approaching models and all that, and coming to Sydney? Because as we can see, you've got tons of influencers. So can you run us through where you were meeting these influencers or celebrities?
So a lot of these influencers, I was just meeting them out in the wild, whether that's at a restaurant, I'd meet them in the bathrooms, I'd meet them at just...
Did you just have like a bikini in your bag and we're like, can you try this
Actually,
on?
a funny story. So the upper left corner, her name's Erika Sato. She is a beauty influencer. She's on YouTube. So with her, I was going to a Big Sean listening party. He was coming out with his new album. I knew Janae Aiko would be there. So I brought, I don't know, maybe 3 swimsuits in my bag.
Yeah.
And then I handed Janae one. She looked so scared. I think she thought that I was giving her something
Suspicious.
suspicious. I have no idea. But I had an extra. And so I gave it to Erika. I said, hey, I'd love for you to wear this.
Yeah.
And then I got her contact information and sent her more swimsuits. She was very kind and
Okay.
posted so many Instagrams. And then Sierra Sky, she's very big on Instagram. She has millions of followers.
Okay.
Don't really remember how I met her. I think it was probably at an event as well.
Okay.
Julia Kelly, she's photographed there with Khalid. That I met her at an event and just went up to her and I said, I would love for us to work together. And so then I hired her as a model, and then she's in the bottom right corner as well. And then the bottom 2 left photos is a Drake and Party Next Door music video. And so I went to that because my friend was modeling for them. She said, do you want to come? I said, yes. I brought a bag of swimsuits and I gifted all the girls their swimsuits. So then, in the music video, that's just free marketing, essentially.
Yeah. So speaking of free marketing, that was one of your ways of planning promotion and all that of your product. But you also have been featured in a bunch of different publications, right, with them wearing it. Then your story develops to where you decide to move to Sydney. But there had been a bunch of signals along the way, your first being when you met a group of friends in Greece. Can you run us through the idea where it started from just a thought where now you're on the stage today? Can you run us through that?
So a lot of people always ask me, why did you move to Australia? Why would you leave LA? And, I was in LA for 5 years. Everything was going great. I was meeting all the right influencers, photographers, celebrities. But just because your business is doing well, it doesn't mean that your happiness will be there just because you're doing well career-wise. And I just felt like in LA, my inspiration wasn't there anymore. My creativity, my desire to go out and meet new people in LA, it just wasn't there anymore. I knew it was time for me to change, and I felt like I outgrew the environment. So back in 2016, I went to Greece. I met a group of Australians, and the girls that I met, I thought were so cool. I was just like, wow, they're very stylish, and I loved what they wore to the beach. I was like, okay, this is different. Like LA girls wouldn't be so prepared with the sunblock and the different hats and all the different outfit changes at the beach. And so then it was kind of the first time it dawned on me where I thought, okay, maybe I can live elsewhere besides LA. And when I got back to America, I told my mom, I think I might want to live in Australia someday. And she was like, you're insane. Why would you leave America? And so ever since 2016, each year I kind of kept reminding her, hey, I think I want to move to Australia. I think I want to move to Australia. And then finally in 2019, I felt like it was time for that change. And by then she had warmed up to the idea because I've been brainwashing her for, multiple years. So she said, okay, why not? Just go ahead. So I booked a round trip flight to Sydney in 2020 for February. So I booked the flight maybe 6 months in advance. And this was before the fires.
Okay.
And, it's December. And December 2019, and the fires are still going on all over Australia, and it's on the news almost every day in America. And my mom goes, "Are you sure you want to move to Australia?" And I said, "Honestly, I don't see myself living anywhere else. That's where I have to go."
Okay.
And she said, "Okay, well, by the time you get there, it'll stop. The fires will stop." And I said, "How? It's been going on for months."
Yeah.
And literally the time I land, early February of 2020, it was 2 weeks nonstop raining. The fires had disappeared.
The fires disappeared,
Yeah.
and then COVID came in.
Yep.
And you didn't have any family here. You didn't know anyone. I think, yes, it was a really, really hard time for a lot of us being on the beaches. I'm sure, you know, everyone had their hardships, but you could sort of walk to the beach and catch up with mates, and it was relatively fine. But what was that like for you, having a dream, and it's almost like a rejection, right, of that like notion of, I'm going to commit to this, and then it's, no, you're not. There's a roadblock.
Yeah.
You then started your TikTok account.
Yes.
And, well, first of all, you came here to expand your brand, right?
Yes.
That was one of the reasons.
Yes.
So who have we got there in your bikini before we touch on socials?
So that is Isabel Mathers. She is a very big model and influencer in
Influencer,
Australia. So I think that was for, I don't remember which shoe company that was for. I think it was Alias May that she was shooting for. And my friend is a stylist that I had met in Los Angeles. And she said, "Hey, Sophia, do you have any swimsuits that we could style for this shoe brand?" So I gave her that's the Guilty top and DTLA bottoms.
Nice.
Yes.
So you just handed it over and were like,
Yeah.
good luck, I don't know who these celebs are. And
Yeah.
did you find a lot of influencers were then wearing this? Was this during COVID, after COVID? When did that shoot happen?
Okay, so all of this kind of stuff happened after COVID. So
Okay.
back to your question about how it was when I first got here.
Yeah.
So I landed, 3 weeks later it's lockdown. And my mom calls me, she goes, "You need to immediately return back to California." I said, "No way, why would I come back?" Because
Yeah.
by then LA was in lockdown before we were in lockdown. We were in lockdown 1 week after them. And I think that all those hardships before, being in Orange County, being in Bali, of being lonely there,
Yeah.
it just made me more resilient, and I didn't feel as lonely in Australia. My perspective was, wow, I'm so lucky that I get to be in Australia when
Yeah.
borders have shut down and I get to be here.
Yeah.
So the perspective was different.
Okay. Before we talk more business, what did you do in your first week in Australia? Can you remember?
I went to the Sheaf the first night I was here. Yeah.
And like, you're famous on your TikTok for noticing the differences between Australia and LA, right? So what are some of those things that you noticed?
Oh, the differences. I always
Yeah.
talk about the differences of food.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that the ingredients here are just so fresh and the produce.
You went viral actually on TikTok for comparing your KFC back in LA as opposed to KFC here. Like, what's so great about it? The ingredients?
The ingredients, and it just does not taste like junk food. It just tastes so healthy and fresh for being junk food.
So what else were you featuring that got you popular? I mean, I knew about Sophia in Sydney before because you were sharing which gyms to go to, where to get your hair cut, where to get your pants tailored. And I think most people can agree, like, TikTok was awesome during lockdown to keep super entertained, learn how to make frothy coffee and, you know, 7 different kinds of chia butter or whatever. But then it sort of became the search tool, right? And
Yes.
you were giving those recommendations. Was that strategic? Was that, you know, oh, I'm going to log this with Siempre and then I'm going to do this? Or was it just you sharing with an online community? What was it for you?
I think it really helped me feel less lonely.
Okay.
Yeah. So I think that's why I wanted to share. Anytime I had a new observation, it kind of became a diary entry
Okay.
of whatever I was doing, anything amazing or bad that I experienced.
And a lot of media houses actually have picked up on that as well. I know you've been featured in BuzzFeed and 7 News, and even on your Instagram, like, a lot of the time you're now headed to events, right? So has that sort of helped you connect with people, going to these events, exploring Sydney, showcasing there, or what have you been using your social platforms for?
I think that I've been creating a community of people, especially on TikTok, whether it's someone who wants to move to Australia, move to London, move to somewhere completely new,
Yeah.
or even people who live in Sydney that aren't exploring as much. Because, you know, when you get used to a place, you don't try new things. You stick to your routine.
Very nice.
And so I think because I share all these different experiences, it might be people who are interested in food or just want more courage to try something new.
Yeah, you're sort of like showing them that they can do it.
Yes.
Okay. And now you're using TikTok, so you are an influencer. You do run Siempre. Are you using TikTok to promote Siempre, to promote sales? What's your strategy for that?
So initially I didn't. So TikTok, I already have a Siempre Golden TikTok account. So for that, what I was doing was I was posting what was doing well on Instagram on TikTok. So I was posting models in swimsuits that did well on Instagram. But then on TikTok, let's say if it got hundreds of thousands of views or millions of views on TikTok of a model in a swimsuit, it would bring in the wrong target market. It was bringing in men who aren't going to buy the swimsuits. They weren't looking at the model to buy it for their partner. They're just looking at the model, right? And so now TikTok, what's trending and what people want to see is the story behind the brand of what the founder is doing daily, what routine that they go through in order to, you know, whether it's creating the design or getting it out onto market on the website or etc. But I think for me, with my Sophia in Sydney TikTok, it was just more about kind of expressing who I am as a person. And then that just branched out with me working with other brands, which then kind of showcases who I am as a person. And then now it's about joining the personal TikTok with Siempre TikTok.
So would you say that with your personal brand, you've been able to commercialize it?
Yes. So Miley Cyrus slid into my DMs in 2020. She said, "Can I have some bikinis?" I didn't really post that anywhere until this year when her song became #1 in Australia, Flowers.
Yeah, okay.
So I did a video on TikTok. It got about 90,000 views. I posted that same video on Facebook. It got over 19 million views. So that increased the sales of the Trader Joe's t-shirts that I have, which is, you know, it's in the screen. She sent photos of the styles that she wanted from the brand. So
wow, okay. Yeah. So let's talk socials now. Are you repurposing content for anybody who wants to perhaps start up their own brand? Like, I think, yes, social media is the way to use promotions and all that. But what kind of strategy are you approaching on TikTok? What are you doing there as opposed to your Instagram?
for personal or Siempre?
Let's do both.
Okay. So for Siempre, I don't really gift as many Instagram influencers anymore. It's now about providing more products for TikTok influencers. But then the issue with my products is that because it shows so much skin, it's really hard to be running ads. They'll get rejected. And also, if an influencer posts in a swimsuit, it'll get taken down because TikTok is pretty strict compared to Instagram. You can't show too much skin. And so we have to be more creative of how we want to, what kind of content we want with the swimsuits, whether it's, you know, having flat lays where we have the bikini on a mannequin or on a table with cute items to just spruce it up because a model's not wearing it. So
okay, so that's a little bit tricky. But
it is tricky.
You found a way to work around it, sort of.
Mm-hmm.
And then with personal branding, what is your strategy there? Because I've seen that you've been working with Charlotte Tilbury, you've gone to Mac events, you went to Cartier, Summer Friday. So what's your strategy there as an influencer to expand your personal brand?
I think it's, no matter what you do in life, I think it's really important to just be true to yourself and align yourself with the right brands, with the right people. And I think all the right opportunities will come to you if you're just true to yourself.
And you've now built an authentic community. You've actually opened up your own, how would you say, social networking, events company. Can you, and feel free to take your time of the thought process behind it, because I think you built an authentic community through your TikTok and people wanted to meet you, right? People reach out to you in your DMs, but what was it like starting out Butterfly Chapter Mixes?
Okay, so I feel like we all have our superpower, we have our strengths, and I think my strength is networking and connecting people. And even when I was in LA, if I threw events, I would say, okay, this photographer, you should meet this model. You guys would work great together. I would always bring people together. And so for Butterfly Chapter, I know what it feels like to be lonely and be in a new city and not have any friends. And so I wanted to provide a space where girls can come and make genuine new connections that will stay in your life forever. And I don't want to say it's networking, because I feel like networking is pretty superficial.
It's a mixer, let's say.
Yeah, this is where, the girls come, they answer really deep questions about each other and get to really know each other. And so many of the girls have met their brand new best friends here.
Oh, wow.
And majority of the women that do attend are born and raised in Sydney. They're not from elsewhere. So it just shows that you can feel lonely even from the city that you're from.
That for me is awesome, because sometimes you just need like a place to facilitate it, someone to facilitate the friendship, and sometimes that's a bit tricky because maybe everyone wants to stick to the people they went to school with or that live in your area. So what are some of the key things to run an event where people can be vulnerable, people can be really authentic and feel comfortable to answer those deeper questions? What are those key things?
For when I'm hosting, or
for
when you're
hosting.
attending?
Let's start with when you're hosting.
Okay, so you have to be very detail oriented.
Okay.
And you have to notice, who feels shy, who feels left out or uncomfortable, because you want everyone to be having a good time. And it's not just about the people that are outgoing and want to be sharing those answers. It's for everyone. And so I just make sure that everything's organized.
Okay.
All the food's there, the drinks are ready, the staff is attentive as well. But meanwhile, I have so the event lasts about 4 hours. Every minute is accounted for.
Okay.
It's completely structured. It's not just where you go to a venue and you just kind of drink and eat. There are activities for every minute.
And where do you come up with those activities then? Or is there someone who's working with you, or is it just you alone? That's it in your team?
It's me alone.
Okay.
Yeah.
But you're starting to partner up with a bunch of people now.
Yeah.
You're going to have co-ed mixers in the future. What events are you looking forward to?
Okay, so I have another mixer on a yacht coming up on the 5th of March. And then my first one in Melbourne will be on the 17th of March.
Okay.
And so I'm really excited about that one because it'll be my first one not in Sydney.
What was it like sort of throwing your first mixer? What sort of thoughts did you have running through your head? Like, oh my gosh, what if people don't come up? What were your doubts or anxieties?
Okay, so what happened was I wanted the first one to be co-ed and mixed, but I saw that the demand was so high from women that I just thought, you know what, let's just do all women.
Okay.
And so the first event had 62 women that attended, and we had it at Bellevue Cottage in Glebe.
Okay. Did you have any fears before then? Or because it was a ticketed event, did you know, okay, people have paid, they're going to come through?
Yes. So
Okay.
the attendance isn't what I was worried about. I guess I was more, I just want to make sure everyone's having a good time and they're happy. And when there's a plan and there's a structure, people listen and people are actually really open to following that plan. And they all love the activities. So it worked out great.
I know that you were on a committee in college, you were on a committee in
yes,
college
yes.
that you sort of touched on events. So you didn't study events, but you somewhat got involved with it. What did you learn there that you're now implementing?
Okay, so I thought I wanted to be an events planner since I watched that movie with Jennifer Lopez, the wedding planner.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and I thought I wanted to be an events planner before I got to college, but then, you know, I went the communications route, and but I still joined special events committee my freshman year.
Yeah.
And we would plan formals. So they were kind of like dance parties
Okay.
that we'd plan. Maybe there were 1 or 2 a year.
So sometimes those extra clubs that you get involved with at, you know, college can actually really help you later on in life because you've sort of dipped your toe into it and experienced it. What other events are you looking forward to? Because I know we can see there, that's when you're always going out and like doing your influencing, attending events and stuff. So what are you looking forward to coming up? What kind of brand deals are you looking forward to doing?
Okay.
Can you reveal them yet?
I've been working with Mecca more often. I'm also looking into a beauty clinic
Yeah.
that's in Parramatta and also in the Gold Coast.
Okay.
And also a diamond jewelry company.
Okay.
Yep.
Now, you've got a great business mindset, right? I think we've spoken a lot together, and you've said, "Oh no, I just do it. Like it's not that hard." Like in the famous words of Elwood, what? Like it's hard. Like you just make it seem exceptionally easy. So, what in your environment has shaped this business mindset? That following through, scheduling things. What has shaped that?
I think it's resilience to rejection. So if you're so afraid of rejection, you're not going to try. And I think because I have been rejected so many times, I just think, who cares? If it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. And so that is what happened with the first Butterfly Chapter event. I thought, okay, this is a good idea. I want to see if people will come if I do throw it. They did come. They did enjoy it. And so that kind of proved to me, okay, this can work. And this is similar to the Kickstarter campaign with the swimsuits. I thought, okay, why don't I just see if it's successful? And if it is, then it's proven that it could work.
Amazing. So the next chapter, we have a very strong mentorship mindset and mantra at ICMS. Chad from Diff Eyewear was your mentor, right? Going through this entire process. What was he to you? What advice or how was he a mentor to you?
So Chad is one of the co-founders of Diff Eyewear. That was kind of like the OG eyeglass brand of Instagram. They've had the Kardashians wear their glasses, a lot of different celebrities.
Yeah.
And I met him at a trade show. I went up to him. I didn't know he was the co-founder at the time. I just went up to him and I said, hey, I have a swimmer brand, love your glasses. Why don't we do a collab? He gifted me some glasses. So then I did a photo shoot of models wearing swimsuits with their glasses. And then from there, that's kind of how the friendship formed. And he always gives me insights on what could do better with ads. He was the person, well, at the time I was selling separates. And then he was the one who said, why don't you bundle them as sets and make it much more affordable as sets? And so I kind of changed the pricing based on his advice. And he always gives amazing advice.
Because he's just learned it through experience.
Yeah, and a cool story about him is that he started, like, do you guys know the glasses that you wear when you go to a festival and they kind of change with the lights? Like little smiley faces or things show up when you wear them? So he was creating those glasses with a manufacturer, and then there were 2 other competitors that were creating the same design with the same manufacturer. And so then he went up to them and said, why don't we just join forces and create a brand together? And that's how Diff Eyewear came together.
Something I want to know is, what are the top skills, like you've learned from Chad, what are the top skills someone needs to own their own business? What are those things? Yeah, those qualities.
Okay. Well, resilience is very important, and patience. I'm probably the least patient person you'll ever meet. And you need so much patience if you want to have a successful business, because it's not going to be all rainbows from the beginning.
Yeah. So a lot of the students here are fashion, business, events, perhaps there's some sport. There's some people who might have been enrolled in a degree, and it's really, really tricky when you're in the middle of an assignment and you just want to give up. You're like, that's it. I don't need to do this. I want to give up. I'm just going to throw in the towel. So what advice do you have for the students going through those periods of, you know, anxiety or fear or, oh, well, what am I going to do next?
That's why I say that if you want to start a business, you need to make sure that it's something you're so passionate about that you're okay with spending 5 to 10 years for this product or this idea that you have.
Yeah.
And it's not glamorous. It's blood, sweat, and tears in the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
And if you think if your idea is something that you cannot stop thinking about and you're just obsessed with this idea and it's not something you'll give up, then I say go for it.
And it's not too tricky to find your passions either, right? You've created a business out of the things that you enjoyed, the beach, swimwear, connecting with people. So you make it seem easy, but it's because you've just cut out a very clear path for yourself, right?
Okay, so I've read this book called Ikigai. It's a Japanese philosophy, and it's based on how the longest living people, some of them are on this island in Japan, and it's because they have this philosophy where you do what you love, what you're passionate about, and you try to live off of that passion. So if you love something so much and you can figure out a way of how to create revenue from that passion, but then it also gives back to community, then that gives you such an amazing purpose in life that you just want to keep living, and you're just very healthy as well.
And passions or interests can change. Things can ebb and flow too, right? So what are your plans for the future going forward? Initiating more into events, right? So what are your future plans now?
I'm really, really excited to further my education and get more into events. I want to keep throwing butterfly chapter events across Australia, not just Sydney and Melbourne. And so I'm really excited to get my master's at ICMS for event management.
Congratulations. So you're going to be doing events at ICMS. You're going to be applying for that. And what made you so interested in furthering your career to get greater insight, those connections? What is it that you're motivated by?
So I think that my core values, I love marketing and I love connecting and meeting new people and having other people connect and gain their confidence as well. And I think events provide that experience. Yeah. And so I would love to focus more on that. Amazing. Like swimwear at the end of the day, they are products, and I create designs that make you feel very confident and sexy when you're wearing a swimsuit. But I feel like after that sale, there isn't much connection to the customer. I feel like these events,
connecting with people.
Yeah. So that's what I'm really passionate about.
So speaking of connecting with people, we have recorded this. So everybody who wasn't able to catch up with us today, it will be available on ICMS TV. ICMS TV is our streaming website where you're able to access all of our masterclasses and play them back. And also, you and I sat before this and we were on We Mentor. So for those of you who don't know, We Mentor is a new platform where we're getting the real interesting nitty-gritty bits from entrepreneurs and people we interview. So keep an eye out for that. But I'd like to open up the floor. So first of all, thank you so much for your time. Can we give Sophia a round of applause? Right, so are there any burning questions we have, things you want to know about Sophia, perhaps influencing, owning your own brand? I know I have a bunch more that I'd like to ask, but I am conscious that you all have class.
Can I ask a question quickly? Because all the men in the room want to ask this question. Where is the male swimwear, Soph? Is this a plan for the future? I know the answer, but can you just put us out of our misery, please?
No, thank you.
All right, so no male swimwear.
Sorry.
That's all right.
Well, I feel like I said, you need to stay true to yourself and what you align with. And I think that if I created designs for men, I think they would be mediocre, and I don't think it would be that great. And I don't want to just put out a product just to put it out there. So I'm going to stick to women's designs.
Fair enough. Yep, sure.
For all you northern beaches, like we have, what is it, 7 beaches around us at the moment. So maybe we might see some people rocking Siempre Swim.
Discount code, right?
There is a discount code, yeah, which we'll share on socials after this.
ICMS.
Yeah, okay, there you go. Super, super easy. But sort of, do you think that it's achievable nowadays to start up your own business and just make a massive brand? Do you need to go make a huge brand, or can you stay in a niche market?
You know, nowadays there are so many resources. There are podcasts. Everyone is an entrepreneur.
What are some of those
these
resources
days.
that everyone here could use?
Oh, so many podcasts on Spotify,
Okay.
interviews on YouTube. So many famous entrepreneurs now on Instagram
And on WeMentor.
and on WeMentor,
Yeah.
and even smaller entrepreneurs that you can just reach
Amazing.
out to. If you have any question, just message them. Everything's online that you can have direct access and communication to anybody.
Well, I think we have a question over there, actually.
Okay. When starting up your business and making the decisions on like manufacturers and pattern makers, how did you have the knowledge to like make that choice, or like what was, I don't know, how did you compare them and make that choice?
That's a great question. So for the pattern makers, I went to someone that I had heard of in Huntington Beach, and then their pricing was way too high, so it was just out of budget. And so then I found another lady in the fashion district of Los Angeles, and that was much more reasonable. So then I went with her for the patterns. And as for Bali, I found 3 different manufacturers. So one of the girls, it's very interesting. I had found someone on Instagram. She was just a girl who lived in Hawaii, and I had seen that she was manufacturing shirts from Bali. So I messaged her saying, hey, who is this manufacturer that she used? And then she knew the lady who was a friend from Hawaii. So my manufacturer is actually from Hawaii, but she has a factory in Bali. Went to 2 other factories as well. I actually went there and I just saw how the environment was, what the terms and conditions were for the workers. And I just felt like it was the best with the American lady. I just felt like it was just more fair, and it was a nice factory, very spacious. Her pricing was higher, but I just felt like, it's just much easier because I just knew that communication will be very important. I was in LA. She's always going back and forth from Hawaii to Bali. I just knew that was going to be the easier way and more efficient way, even though it was pricier.
Any other questions? Yep.
Going back to what you were saying before, where you were saying there was a gap in the market for swimwear with less material, what makes your swimsuits different than others? Because you were saying that less material was more expensive. Like, how much do your swimmers retail for?
Okay, so when you purchase a set, it's $108 maximum USD, and right now it's usually around $100 to $200 per piece. So that would be $400 for a set. And now I figured out it doesn't have to do with fabric. That was me back when I had no idea how much things cost. So do we have the blue swimsuit set that I brought?
Yes.
So I want to show you this bikini set. It's called the Scorpio set. I did one collection on zodiacs because I'm obsessed with zodiacs. So this one, I called it the Scorpio because it's the sexiest design that I have. And thank you so much.
Do you want me to hold it for you?
Sure. Okay. So for this one, this is the least amount of fabric that a swimsuit has. I heard the gasp.
Which way am I going here? There. There.
Yeah, so this one, it has this golden clasp. It's the accessory is nice. But then see how there's no fabric? Like it's strings, right? This is probably the most expensive design because it involves more time, more labor, more sewing. Because it's not just one triangle that you sew out and then you just put together. It's just so much work. And this includes the braids. You have to get the fabric, you have to cut it all, you have to sew them into strings, and then it takes time to braid them. So for me, I try to make sure that the designs are unique and different, but also at the same time good quality and affordable. However, I have learned that Australians do not like the same styles as Americans. No. I've realized that Australians prefer something that's much more simplistic, minimal, and a little bit more conservative. So this style is doing better in Australia, and this is better in America. However, some Australians have ordered this style of the Scorpio. And then, can you show them the back?
Yeah, sure.
These are the bottoms, so there are cutouts in the front and
wait,
the back.
let's go
So
that
it's
way.
funky tan lines. Yeah.
There we go.
We were trying to work out that swimsuit earlier. It's like where it all goes. Any other questions? Yep, sure. Again. Oh, I'll just go over here first.
How did your personal life experiences help with your business success?
Okay, so for the event side of things, I used to be an RA in college. Do you guys know what that is? A resident advisor?
It's like a resident leader here.
Oh, it's called resident
Yeah.
leader. Okay, so I wanted to save money when I was going to college. I knew I was going to graduate a year early, but I still wanted to kind of save as much money as possible. So essentially, I applied and became a resident advisor. It's when I was living in the dorms, and then I am the leader of that dorm. So like 50 residents, I'm telling them, like, don't do this or do this.
Yeah.
So I'd have to create. I was a cool resident advisor, though. I didn't get anybody in trouble. So one of my main goals was I had to set up certain amount of events to basically increase morale and bring the community together, so people felt like they were having fun and felt like they were bonding with other students on campus that were living in the dorms. And I think being put in that position as an RA, I learned that I had to step out of my comfort zone to make other people feel more comfortable. And I think that's where I gained the confidence of hosting events.
And would you like to know a bit about like Siempre Swim, or did that answer your question?
Okay, as for Siempre,
I think your family is, well, particularly your mom, from what I've learned from you, has pushed you guys,
right.
has said you can achieve success and nothing less than that. So is that accurate, or is that?
Yes, so my
Okay.
mom always was very strict. And she kind of had this idea of who I should have been as a person, or which career path I should have taken. I think because she was so set on me becoming either a doctor or a lawyer. This is so cliche, but she was, one of those moms that wanted me to go either medicine or law. And because she was so strict on it, I think that's when my rebellious side came out, and I said, no, like, this is what I'm passionate about. I love fashion. I love swimwear. I want to try this out before I go the law school route. And so I proved it to her within that first year, and she just kind of let me do my thing ever since. She told me that I could never move to Australia. Maybe it's because she's so determined about how I should live my life, where I'm like, okay, no, this is what I want to do. And I think that's where I maybe learned how to kind of not care about what other people think. I'm like, okay, no, I feel like this is my passion. I'm going to go for it despite other people's opinions. Did that answer? Okay, great. Yeah.
Well, I think,
Yep, one more.
was there one more?
Sure.
Sorry, me again. In terms of like starting your brand today, we all know social media is the way to go. Like everyone's on it. But how do you stand out? Because it feels so overly saturated with businesses, and it seems really hard.
It is very oversaturated with influencers, brands popping up left and right. But what's cool is that during COVID, during lockdown, it was kind of like that, even on Instagram, so many small brands popping up. But then there was a whole surge of new companies that came up just from TikTok. So I feel like if you really believe that your product is different and you're actually fulfilling a need or filling up a gap where you really feel like the product can make a difference, then I think people can see that truth. And I think that's why butterfly chapter events as well, I think people can really relate to what the core is. I think it's very important what the real reason is of why you're starting something. It shouldn't be for money. It should be, is this really fulfilling me as a person, and can this really help someone else?
Sorry, thanks. It's been fascinating. We've got a lot of business students here, and there's only one Sophia, and you're building a big business. What have the challenges been of building a team around you to help? I'm sure that's not easy, and there's got to be trust involved, and they've got to buy into the culture of your business and so on. So how have you gone about that?
Okay, I would say I'm pretty bad at delegating. So I think I try to do everything myself, where I'm like, okay, I want to control everything.
Yeah.
Right? And when you do that, you can't grow. You need to be able to trust people and have the people with the right strengths doing that job. And so for me, I think I first gave that trust when it came to ads. Because when the Instagram algorithm changed, the people that are following you or following those influencers, they're not all going to see that content that the people post, right? And so I knew that since 2016 that I had to be started running ads. I tried to run ad campaigns myself. I really do not do well with data and like creating campaigns like that. However, when I looked back, actually one of the ads, it was a 30x return. I didn't know what that meant. That's amazing that I did that, but I didn't even know what it meant. So then I found someone to freelance and run those ads for me. So ever since then, I've had people manage like the email campaigns, ad campaigns. Starting next month, I'm actually going to have an agency create more content and manage Instagram and TikTok for Siempre Golden. So it's really learning how to trust other people to do what they're good at and not trying to control everything yourself, because then you kind of plateau and you can't keep up with the rest of your competitors.
Just to add on to that, we were just having a conversation before this, and then you mentioned Steve Jobs. And we were talking about how it's not knowing how to do it all yourself. It's finding the right people to do it, right?
Yeah. So, right, exactly. Steve Jobs does not know how to actually put together a computer or an iPod or an iPhone. It was all his ideas. He was a visionary. He found the right people to execute his plans and his dreams. It's surrounding yourself with the right people and having them believe that they're capable of creating this vision with you.
Incredible.
I'm next. Thank you, Sophia. That was a really good session. Seriously inspirational. I've got a couple of questions for you. What's your favourite beach in Sydney? Manly.
I love how you asked that. Clontarf.
Okay. Would you do a collab with ICMS apparel merch store? Don't answer. But that would
Of course.
be. Yeah,
Of course I would.
Well, there you go.
A lot of successful people have a great schedule every day. And when you work for somebody, you have to get up in the morning, so your boss is checking the time and you get there and you do your thing. But entrepreneurs have to kind of find this motivation within to do something. Can you share with us your daily schedule? Do you get up early? Do you read a book? Do you exercise? What is that kind of vibe for you that keeps you going and keeps the momentum and keeps the pace?
Samantha asked me this.
I did.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I used to be that person who would go to sleep at 3 a.m. and wake up 11 a.m., 12 p.m. Like I'm a night owl. But things have changed ever since I moved to Sydney. My eyes shut by the time it's 11 and I wake up at 6 a.m. automatically. I don't set an alarm anymore. It's just a mental alarm clock. I have daily affirmations where I tell myself I'm attracting all the right people into my life. I'm attracting all the right opportunities into my life. I'm a very lucky person. And you kind of just have to have a positive outlook from the beginning. Otherwise, your day can get skewed because things happen where it can ruin your day. I have a dog, so my first intention is to go outside. And I think that kind of forces me to not look at my phone and just go straight out into nature, right? And get a breath of fresh air. And then from there, I have a list of things that I have to do, and I have to prioritize them and actually write the numbers like this 1, 2, 3, because otherwise then I want to do what I think is fun. I'd rather do the marketing side and post on socials as as my first thing, which is what I want to do, but I can't. It's based on deadline, what's more important. So I make sure to always prioritize and write things down.
And you use a really good calendar app,
Yes.
which helps.
I don't remember what it's called. I'll get back to you on
We'll
that.
set a reminder for
Yes.
that to remind you of the name.
Yes.
Perfect. Are there any further questions from anyone? We will be hanging around at the back, but
Yeah, I
we're all
think
good.
now you're an ICMS student.
Yes.
Yeah. Obviously, if you want to take a picture with Sophia or ask her any questions after this, you're welcome to. She'll be around for the next 15, 20 minutes. And also just want to thank you, Sophia, because that was really, really good. And I think it's important for us to remember that you do see, if you look on Soph's Instagram, it does look pretty glamorous. But then when you saw that picture of 27,000 swimsuits on your floor, you realise that it's a lot of hard work too. So well done on doing so well and getting this far. And also, Sam, you did an incredible job. So I give them both a round.
Thank you, guys. You can come up and take a pic or go along with your day. But thank you all for joining.
I'd like to take a pic.
Yay.
You two can sit there.
Steve.
Great question. Did I answer it well?